Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Tips on Writing an International Speech session in the main room. I am Distinguished Toastmaster Deandra Dorset, and I will be your facilitator for this afternoon. Now let's go over some important housekeeping items first. You are muted now, and you will remain muted until the instructor or presenter asks me to unmute you or finishes his presentation. Your videos are on and you're allowed to keep them on. And I'm sure our presenter will appreciate your nonverbal communication and all of the gestures that you give during this time. But please remember that you can be seen, so turn off your video if you do not want us to see you. If you have any questions during the presentation, you may type it in the chat. Simply place a question mark at the beginning of your question so that it's easily recognized in the chat. We will do our best to respond to each question to the best of our abilities. Your presenter for today is Distinguished Toastmaster Godfrey McAllister. Over to you.
Patrick Henry.
I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
Give me liberty or give me death. Adolf Hitler.
Nicht der Staat hat uns geschaffen, sondern wir schaffen uns unseren Staat.
Hey, we didn't say all of these guys were good guys.
And that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Until we stand in the fields with the millions that toil each day under the hot sun, we will not represent India, nor will we ever be able to challenge the British as one nation.
And sometimes, in the middle of the night, I wake up my beautiful wife and I ask her, honey, why did you marry me? She says, I saw something in you. But I still don't know what it is.
Tell them about the dream.
I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Dr. Godfrey McAllister is a motivational speaker, author, consumer advocate, mediator, and chartered financial consultant. Among his many insurance industry's distinctions, he's a past member of the ultimately prestigious Top of the Table Pinnacle International $1 Million Round Table. He was also American Life Insurance Company's #1 worldwide personal accident insurance sales producer for 7 consecutive years, each year breaking his own record. He is the first distinguished Toastmaster in the Caribbean. He is possibly the first person in the world to earn a distinguished Toastmaster distinction in a record-breaking 12 months. Whew. Godfrey is a Toastmaster International 4-time multi-district table topics champion and a 2017 world champion of public speaking finalist. Distinguished Toastmaster McAllister is a conceptualizer and international coordinator of the increasingly popular and recently concluded worldwide impromptu speaking extravaganza, aka WISE, W-I-S-E. It is dedicated to teaching, training, and honing in the impromptu and persuasive thinking and speaking skills. Dr. McAllister's trademark name and mantras are Dr. Perspective, and the only thing over which you have complete control over is your perspective. Please help me to welcome at the virtual lectern this time, Distinguished Toastmaster, Dr. Godfrey McAllister, on the topic, Tips on Writing International Speech.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's get right into it. This is going to be another whirlwind presentation, and we will whirl the wind because it's being recorded, and I've given permission for anybody who wants the recording to get it. So let's get right into it, and I'll give you a little idea as to what I plan doing. Hopefully I can keep my promises. Do you want your speech to be forgettable or memorable? That's a choice that you have to make. Do you want your speech to be irrelevant or effective? Now, that's a choice that you have to make. Much has to do with the presentation of your speech, but better is a poorly presented, very well constructed speech than is a very well presented but poorly. A little bit of a tongue twister there. Let's go down again. Better is a poorly presented, very well constructed speech than is a very well presented but poorly constructed speech. This is about speech writing. But as you can imagine, nobody writes a speech that they don't intend to present. So we're also marrying presentation into the production of this speech. Of course, best of all is an excellently presented, very well constructed speech. I'm sure you will agree. Today we shall consider a few tips in constructing an international speech. We will then watch a 7-minute international speech and identify as many demonstrations of the tips as possible. Now, this is important. We'll be watching a 7-minute international speech. But before we watch that speech, we will be looking at the principles, the tips that you should weave into the production of your speech. So please make notes. I know you're going to be getting the video, but make notes of the highlight. Just jot down. Don't write anything in detail. Write down some mind joggers so that when you watch the speech, you will know what to watch for and will be able to identify the tips that we are now going to be getting in theory. And of course, I will answer as many of your questions as possible as time would permit. So basic tips, we have basic tips and advanced tips. Basic tip number 1, know your audience. The more you know about your audience, the better you will be able to relate to them. We know that our audience is international, and we must keep this at the center of our mind when constructing our speech. I began this session with a few, I think about 7 different clips put together of famous speakers who have spoken, most of them not even alive today. But we remember their speeches. Their speeches are memorable, and there's a reason for that. And it's not just because they're important people. That helps, yeah. But there is something about their speeches, something about the purpose of their speeches, something about the relevance of their speeches. And as such, we'll be weaving that into our presentation today. Let's move on. Number 2, carefully determine your message. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me laugh at myself, because it's difficult to have secrets kept about you. The word will soon be out around the world. I just entered a humorous speech contest and lost miserably. Now, I'm a little bit spoiled, yeah, a little bit spoiled. I'm accustomed, 1, 2, 3 sort of thing. Not placing is not something that I'm with which I'm very familiar. I did not place in the speech, and I couldn't understand why. At first I thought, hey, I must have gone over time. But when I checked, no. There were no time disqualifications. And please, allow me to humiliate myself. Allow me to deprecate myself. And a few other things that can begin with D. But could you believe that after 21 years in this Toastmasters world, could you believe, after winning several championships all over the place, could you believe that I wrote a humorous speech without clearly defining my message? Because I couldn't clearly define my message, I could not have a call to action. So please, do as I say, don't do as I do. Or should I say, don't do as I did. I promise you, I will never do it again. Probably the first time that I ever did it. So there you go, the importance of the message. What is it that you want your audience to hear? To make this even more powerful, what is it your audience needs to hear? And best of all, what is it your audience wants to hear? Do you know the difference between need and want? I hope you do. Yeah. Children need broccoli. I'm told. Do they want broccoli? No. So mommy and daddy has to find a way to get them to use the broccoli because they need it, they don't want it. If you can give the people what they want, man, you are a superstar. Give the people what they want. If you can give people what they want, man, they'll beat a track to your door. And best of all, what is it your audience wants to hear? The action in your message may be difficult, but must never be impossible. In other words, don't set impossible goals. Set high goals, difficult goals, challenging goals, but not impossible goals, so that there must always be the opportunity and the possibility for success and achieving those goals. Number 3, embody your message in a memorable title. I can't emphasize this too much. Your title is your title deed to a winning speech. I'll never forget, and I better check this before I say it, but it's too late to check it now. I seem to recall that one of the world champions of public speaking many years ago had a title for his speech, and the speech title was, oh my God, I hate to make a fool of myself. If I'm wrong, please forgive me, but I really believe that I read this somewhere. The title of his speech was, "And the winner is." Could you imagine that? Let's say that I'm the speaker, and they say, Godfrey McAllister, and the winner is Godfrey McAllister. Wow, isn't that a head start, huh? Oh yes. Actually, he did win. I'm not sure if it was with that speech or another speech. Bottom line is this: your title is prime real estate, and you need to work that title to make sure it works for you. You are 100% in control of its selection. Select it strategically. C, a great title adds upfront time to your maximum speaking time. In other words, when I write my introductions, and yes, I must confess, I write all my introductions. And if you're a speaker, I recommend that you write all your introductions. I don't care who the person is, unless it's your close personal assistant. You don't trust anybody to introduce you. I know that sounds harsh, but you know why? Because despite their best intentions, they don't know exactly what you want to say. You know exactly what you want to say in the speech. And so your title, this is your introduction, your introduction is a part of your speech. And therefore, you must take control of that. Now, your title must be included in the introduction so that people get a heads up as to where you plan to take them. Include it in your introduction so that it begins to work for you before you open your mouth. And of course, a great title projects to your audience where you want to take them. You know, some people will say, when you begin a speech, says, I plan to take you here, this is what I plan to do. Well, that can be tacky. It can be, it's good, by the way. It's good. But it might be from a performer's perspective, and I am a performer, just in case you didn't notice. But from a performer's perspective, something as blasé, as mundane as that might be a little bit tacky. So what you want to do is make sure that in your title, you are projecting where you want to go. And then your transitions will also help. A great title provides a track on which you can stay. Everybody wants to stay on track. No better track than a good title. Now, number 4, structure your speech. Okay, yeah, we know that. We didn't come here to know about opening, body, and conclusion. I know you know. That's why I'm just reminding you. Your speech opening is built around your title. Now, did you know that? That your speech opening must be built around your title. Your speech body should have between 2 and 4 pieces of explanatory, supportive, and/or illustrative stories that reinforce your message. Very important. And structure of your speech. C, connect the subsections of your message with transitions or bridges that glue them together. In other words, the sections of your speech, especially the body of your speech, ought to be connected. Again, the title is the best thing to do it. But you may also have a sub-theme, which we will discuss sometime later. The important thing is whether you want to call it a transition or a bridge, don't jump from one thing to the next without giving a clear indication that this is the path you have taken. And may I say, it must be a logical path. In other words, without your even telling the audience, they should be able to anticipate where you're going next. Unless, of course, it's a surprise kind of speak, you know, this dramatic effect where you don't want people to know where you're going. That's a different kind of specialized speech. Your conclusion must reach back to your opening. confirm your message, and include a call to act on the demands of your message. Remember, this is being recorded, so you don't need to take detailed notes. Just mind joggers as you evaluate, observe the winning speech that I will be playing for you in a few minutes. Use repetition for consolidation. Your title should be so crafted as to accommodate repetition. Repetition of a pivotal phrase or word will enhance both the learning and recall process in the mind of your audience members. Repeat, repeat, repeat. You must be saying the same thing over and over again. If they don't believe you at first, trust me, they'll eventually believe you. But you got to be saying the same thing. And that same thing should be pivotal to the overall meaning and intent of your speech. Place yourself in your speech. If you talk about somebody else, that's great. But the height, the pinnacle of your authority is when you're speaking about yourself. Creatively use a personal story to support or illustrate your message. Distinguished Toastmaster Roger Caesar, who's a third place winner in the international speech contest, he quotes his mentor as saying, your stories must be unique, but your message must be universal. So your stories must be unique, but your message must be universal. Now, the fact that you are asked to speak is your license to be vulnerable. Let me repeat that. The fact that you are asked to speak is your license to be vulnerable. And if I should look at my companion screen, humans bond best at the bottom. Humans bond best at the bottom. And what I mean by that is that it's usually in times of hardship, in times of struggle. People don't bond at celebratory parties. People bond during hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, death, funerals, when we are at our most vulnerable and somebody comes along us. I remember giving a speech in Barbados many years ago before most of you were born. And I was the top of the table, whatever, phenomenal insurance producer. And so they had me all about the place speaking. And I was in Barbados and I was speaking. And as I was getting into my speech and really getting in there, somehow I realized that the audience was not with me. And right in the middle of my speech, I said, God, I didn't stop, but in my mind, I said, God, help me, please, I'm in trouble. I'm speaking, but I'm not engaging my audience. And God said to me, stop, tell them about your failures. And I started to speak about my failures, about my near bankruptcy, about the fact that I spent 3 years in depression and dejection. But then, just as they were bonding and just there, because now people are bonding with me, I'm at the bottom. The people who I'm speaking to are not superstars. I'm the superstar. And they probably envy me or grudge me or hate me or whatever. They probably figure, well, I can't do it because I'm not I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But when I spoke about my failures, everybody could identify with that. My struggles, they bonded. So when I now said I was 3 years in the tomb, 3 years in dejection, 3 years in rejection, but in the third year, I rose again. When I said that, everybody was with me. And it was a phenomenal conclusion to an excellent presentation. So people bond with humans bond better or best at the bottom. Anticipate being persuasively enthusiastic and energetic. Now, I know everybody's personality is not like mine. I understand that. But then I guess everybody's not cut out to be a public speaker. I'm not saying you must be a public speaker. But I'm saying if you want the privilege of speaking in public and having an audience listen to you, you better learn to entertain that audience. And so if you are by nature very laid back, what do I say? If necessary, take a dose of Viagra for speakers. Yes, I'm going to patent that. And just let me know if you want your dose. I will send it to you in a discreet package so that nobody will know what's inside. It's called Viagra for speakers. But I'm sorry, you got to do something. You cannot afford to go before an audience half dead. It's a disgrace to you and a disservice to the audience. So in addition to being informed and even inspired, your audience wants to be entertained and not just maintained. Now, I could give you a little analogy there, but I'll leave it at that, all right? especially those of you who are married. Maintenance is great, but a little entertainment makes things a little bit more exciting, huh? Okay, write your speech with your delivery in mind. Now, this is about writing a speech, but guess nobody writes a speech to bury it, or at least I hope not. So, although we are writing a speech, we're in fact preparing to deliver that speech. Number 8, climax at the end. Don't write your climax in the middle. Now, there's something as a multi-climax, all right? And if you are that good and you can deliver a speech with multiple climaxes, just make sure that the intensity of the climax begins low and then gets higher and higher and higher and higher until it is explosive. So depending on how you want to define the concept of climax, all I'm saying is keep your best climax for the end. All right? Is that better? Keep your best climax for the end. Don't put your best climax in the middle. If you climax before the end, your end will be an anticlimax. Now we go to the advanced tips. Incorporate humor in your speech. Lots of humor. Avoid telling jokes if you want to be taken seriously, or unless you are a stand-up comedian. Your humor must be relevant to your message and contextual. And remember that all of these tips we'll be watching in a 7-minute video. So make notes, just jot down things that you are especially interested in seeing in action, especially the humorous part. Mix your humor if possible, but self-deprecatory humor is always a winner. Your humor must make people laugh. Duh! If you're being humorous and nobody laughing, guess what? Perhaps you need to tweak that humor just a tad. In constructing the humorous parts of your speech, you must include the following. Now, this is not a workshop on putting together a humorous speech, constructing a humorous speech. That we couldn't do that in a few minutes. But these are 3 hints, and you'll find that these will be universally accepted to the best of my knowledge. Certainly for me, that's it. A, the setup. And when you watch the 7-minute video, you'll see the setup. B, the pause. C, the punchline. The punchline is when people are supposed to laugh. Let's hope they do laugh. Color your prose with poetry. Most people prefer color movies over black and white. Use rhyming words or alliteration. Words beginning with the same letter or syllable. You go to many churches and you hear the pastor, especially those who went to theological college, you'll hear them talking with the D or the C, and all the 3 points begin with the same syllable or the same word. That's good. Alliteration. I love to use alliteration. It causes the judges, it causes the audience to say, wow, wow. And they're not even too sure why they're saying wow. It just sounds good. Use alliteration. Spice up, spruce up the speech. Spruce up the speech. Spice up the speech. That's all I'm saying. Make them short. Now you can use rhythmic sentences. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da da da. Da da da. Da 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 da. Da. There are different rhythms that you can use. And the rhythms ought to indicate, they ought to be intentional. So you should slow your sentences down as you enter a pregnant pause, or speed them up as you rush towards a trial climax or the main climax. And hopefully we'll see this in the demonstration. Use role play. Change your voice, body direction, or other visible asset. Put on a cap, take off a cap. Put on the glasses, take off the glasses. Grandma is speaking. Well, I don't have a grandma voice, but I can put on some grandma glasses. Whatever. But when you're doing your role play, make sure that your audience knows who's speaking. Of course you are speaking, but which character is speaking? So those of you who can change your voice, change your voice. At least different directions. There are a variety of things that you can do to indicate that you are playing a different role. Optimize gesture creation and vocal variety synchronization. There's a part of the video where the speaker, and I love this part, where the speaker talks about something And before the speaker says the word, he does. You're not seeing this hand. Sorry. Let me. Right. Okay. Let me put it. Right. Okay. Good. You seeing it now? Right. The speaker does. In other words, the speaker is signaling something big. Then he says the word. It's almost as if the speaker is creating the receptacle and then dropping in the word. That's what I mean by optimized gesture creation and vocal variety synchronization. So what you are saying with what people are hearing you say vocally, they should be seeing you do with your gestures. Or a lot of us need to work on our gestures. Huh? Our gestures are not always intentional, not always as meaningful as they could be. Use manageable props that amplify your message. Where possible, manage your props yourself. Oh my God, that speech that I just lost, man, I had more props. You see, I don't like giving humorous speeches. I mean, quote unquote Toastmasters humorous speeches. Worst of all in a competition. I just don't like it. Forget that. That's my personal. So I work hard to be funny. And I was funny to the point where I forgot the message. But I had more props than you can imagine. And I used them all well, including the clown nose that fell off my nose. Well, that's humor. If my nose falls off, have a good laugh. It's a humorous speech. I'm saying that's not a good advice. That's not good advice. Make sure that your props are conservative, minimal, and make sure that you can manage your props yourself. Try and avoid asking other people to help you. It's not that you don't trust them, but the synchronization might be off. The timing might be off. And you are waiting for the sound, and there's no sound. And the audience will know that something went wrong. Or the song comes in before the right time. It's not that the person doesn't like you. It's just that it's difficult for anybody else to be you. Use a sub-theme, and you're going to see that in the speech. Use a sub-theme. A sub-theme is a secondary message identifier in your speech. The sub-theme is a secondary message identifier in your speech. So the title is the first one, and the sub-theme is the second one. Now this is, I remember you're going to get this video. Huh? So this is what the speech statistics for analysis looks like. The speech that we're about to watch. The title is What Do You See? The speech duration is 7:14. The word see appears 15 times. Look at the title again. What do you see? The word see appears 15 times. What do you see appears 4 times. The entire phrase. What do I see? Variation appears 1 time. What I see appears 1 time. What you see appears 1 time. Now, we go for the setup and the punchline. All right, the setup and the punchline. And I will tell you from now, something is wrong with this. I hate to make apologies, but I'm going to apologize. Something is wrong with this. I left out the pauses, and please forgive me for that. But the pauses always come before the punchline. Now, these little gibberish here first speaks for itself. These are time codes. So that when you get to watch the speech, you can actually go to the time code. All right? And although I've left out the pause here, the pause always comes before the punchline. And the pause will take a maximum of 1 second. So wherever you see a punchline, the pause comes before the punchline. So that's the first, second, third, fourth, fifth. You notice there are 10 setups and of course 10 punchlines. And that basically is an insight into the anatomy of humor. And there's one other thing, sub-theme. Become the best we were designed to be. Now, that is a sub-theme for what do you see? And the sub-theme permeates the speech 3 times. Do you see the power of repetition, the role that repetition plays? Now, role play. Remember we said role play? You turn your face, use a different voice. Change your voice, put on a prop, a hat, put on a grandma glasses, whatever you want to do. But when doing role play, you should be able to tell the difference. Vocal variety, intimate. Now, I know I have a powerful, thundering voice, yes, and therefore, it's very important that I know when to become vulnerable. Oh, yes. Very very vulnerable. And if I can't do that, I'm dead. In the same way, those of you who are naturally very soft, don't scare yourself. But every now and then do a what? Take yourself out of your comfort zone. Vocal variety means exactly what it says, vocal variety. Now, vocal variety juxtaposition. What that means is, or what I mean by that is, you will see at one part of the speech where the speaker is soft, and then instantly the speaker goes to a crescendo and gets loud. So that kind of contrast, we call it in art, is always good when used effectively. Props, in this case, 3 mirrors are used. As I said, keep your props simple. Keep your props something that you can accommodate. Now, while I change my share screen, I'm going to ask the moderator to field any questions that exist on what we have spoken about so far. And I'm going to stop sharing and allow the moderator to send me any questions that you may have on what we have presented so far.
Thank you, distinguished Master McAllister. If there are any questions so far on this topic of writing an international speech, please indicate with a raised hand.
Speaker number 1, Godfrey E.
Lady Sandra Burton, do you have a question? Distinguished Toastmaster McAllister, we have a question coming in from Distinguished Toastmaster Deandra Dawsett. How long did it take you to write a speech, roughly?
How long did it take me to write a speech? Well, depending on which speech it is. Certainly, if you're talking about an international speech or any high-level speech, it can take days. Of course, you don't take 24 hours each day, but it can take days. You begin, typically, I'm a late starter, partly because I have a lot of other things to do, but at least I begin to seed my mind with the concept, with the thought. Usually, if I'm asked to speak somewhere, they tell me what to speak on, so that's easy. They tell me what the needs are, what the subject is, and basically I just obey and craft my speech. So the subject is already prepared for me, so that helps. But let us put it this way, writing a speech and the amount of edits that are necessary to present a quote-unquote perfect speech could take a while. Let me talk about the number of edits. I've done sometimes about 50 edits to one speech. So that would give you an idea as to how long it takes. It depends on how many hours you spend. So let us say that if you spend less than, oh my goodness, if you spend less than 6 hours on a speech, it's probably not your best speech.
Thank you, Master McAllister. We have a question coming in from Sandra, Lady Sandra Burton. She's asking, does one have to do a PowerPoint?
No, you do not have to do a PowerPoint. Now, PowerPoints have become very fashionable, but if you are in a live situation, hopefully we'll get back to brick and mortar very soon. If you're in a live situation where you have your audience in front of you, which is what we were accustomed to before COVID, right? Then for me, look, there's no PowerPoint that is better than me. I am my best, and I think I said that in one of the notes. I am my best audiovisual because I'm animated. Am I saying that about myself? I'm dynamic. People say that I'm dynamic. Okay, yes. And I am 70 years old, so let's get that out of the way, okay? I'm not as young as Austin is. Right. Bottom line is this. If a PowerPoint will help you to make your point with power, then use a PowerPoint. But using a PowerPoint, using any prop, can be dangerous. And when using a PowerPoint, the PowerPoint has its own techniques. And I probably am not the best PowerPoint presenter in any case. And the truth is, I really don't specialize in PowerPoints. So the answer, short answer, do you have to use a PowerPoint? The answer is no. And with that, I will go into the speech, the 7-minute speech. What am I doing for time?
You are at 25 minutes.
At how many minutes?
25.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful. So let me just find this now. And this is where, all right. And should I have taken another question?
We have a, if you're interested.
Yes,
Let me know.
yes. Go ahead.
Okay, I will. One from George Strasdas. He's asking, how do you pick a topic to talk on?
Well, how do you pick a topic to talk on? First of all, I'm assuming he's talking about a Toastmasters scenario where you get to speak on anything. Speak about topics with which you have familiarity. Don't burden yourself to speak about something with which you have little or no knowledge. So that is the first point that I would want to make. Speak on subjects with which you have familiarity. Now, let us take that to the bread and butter basics. Many people say, well, I don't know what to speak on when I'm doing my projects. Okay, are you a professional? What are you? You're a builder? Speak on building. You're a cook? Speak on cooking. You're a mother? Speak on mothering, especially if you have more than one child. Speak on topics with which you have familiar. This is not about a test to see what a good researcher you are, unless, of course, you're doing a project on research. Then you will take a topic with which you are not familiar if you don't want to cheat the process. But on a normal condition, speak on what you know about. Speak on what is relevant. If you were asked to speak at a Halloween function, well, you got your topic already, more or less. At least you have your broad topic. You asked to give a Christmas presentation, you have your broad idea. You don't want to hear an Easter subject on Christmas Day, unless you're whatever. So yeah, how to pick a topic. Topics are usually picked for you when you're invited to speak. Ask them what their theme is. Ask them what they would like you to speak on. Ask them what the problems are. And if you are supposed to be responsible for choosing your own topic, choose a topic within your comfort level and take it away. Now, I'm trying very hard not to indicate that I am in some problems here, because for some reason, I am not properly selecting the screen that I want to select. And I don't think that anybody can help me. And although I practiced before, but I didn't practice in the real life scenario. One last chance. Okay, here we go. Let's try this. Okay, let's try this and see what happens. Let's bring this up. Good, we got it. Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, tell me if you're hearing sound.
Speaker number 1. God.
Are you hearing the sound?
We
Are you hearing the sound?
Yes, we are.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go.
E. McAllister. What do you see? What do you see? Godfrey E. McAllister.
My screen is dark. Is it dark for everyone else?
I'm still seeing it.
Contest master, you asked, what do you see? Looking at the faces of Toastmasters, dignitaries, and guests in front of me, some pretty, some handsome, some with some room for improvement. But all filled with expectancy, I see a great opportunity for us to exploit our potentiality to become the best that we were designed to be. But what is really important is what I see when I look at me, and what you see when you look at you. For more than 5,000 years, man was accustomed to looking at his reflection in still streams and burnished brass. According to legend, one day his wife said to him, "Honey, what are you looking at that makes you so sad?" "You, come and see for yourself." And when she looked, She saw the most beautiful sight known to man. And that is how the modern era of our mirror began. Life is like a house full of mirrors everywhere, each reflecting you. Some mirrors are lifeless things, others are circumstances, but most are people. People we enjoy and wish that they would stay. People that annoy by what they do and say, and people who give us great joy when they go away. It is not how our mirror people act, but how we react to them that explains who we truly are. So here's the question. What do you see? During my teenage years, my mirror played a very important part in my life. Hello? I was no ordinary popular teenager. I was exceptional. Exceptionally unpopular. I pretended I had the biggest brain, but really all I had was the biggest head. Picture this. My head now is as big as it was then, but the rest of my body then was only half the size that it is now. So imagine this if you can. A full-grown pumpkin on a broomstick. But there's more. I was an exceptionally good stutterer. I stuttered so badly. I could barely get 2 words out without repeating at least one of them. The counter would have had a blast. And so it was that both girls and boys agreed on how they would greet me. Go away, big head stuttering Mac. Ouch. Have you ever experienced the pain of rejection? I would rather die than let them see me cry. So I did what any brave boy would do. I ran home to Mama and cried. I buried my head in her lap. Mama, what do you see? Gappy. How can I tell you what I see if you do not look at me? And then with her small but strong hands, she gently raised my big head and did what every self-respecting mother would do. She lied. Gappy, I see beauty. Yeah, right. The truth is, I wanted to believe what my mama said, but I knew that I had to decide for myself and answer that question. What do you see? But Mama told me something else. Gappy, those children who laugh at you, give them the love of God. But Mama, I am not God. Godfrey. I know you can. I gave you a head start when I named you Godfrey. How people see you is as much a reflection on them as it is of you. But what really matters is how you see yourself when you look into the mirrors of life. Do not be like those who blame the mirror for what they do not like to see. I did not like my stuttering. And so I discovered that by singing, I could stop stuttering. No shrink could make my big head smaller. So I worked on building the rest of my body until it caught up with my head. My mama taught me how to love by giving and helping others. She taught me that in this world so full of need, the giver is a friend indeed. I gave encouragement and whatever else I could give. And almost immediately, I discovered that I had become a friend that was known for helping others to become the best that they could be. I am a work in progress, and so are you. From this day forward, our goal must always be good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good gets better and your better best. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good gets better and your better gets best. And like most of the ladies here today, who never leave home without their mirror, neither do I. I have learned that in order to become the best that I can be, I must always answer this question truthfully. What do you see? Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good gets better and your better gets best. Contest master. Okay. Now, we got the theory, we got the demonstration, and now we are in a much better position to match the theory with the practical, and let's see what we can come up with in terms of our questions, and certainly I'll be prepared to provide the answers. I trust that in terms of the humor, there were about 10 occasions. By the way, one of them fell flat. Could anybody tell me which one of the humor attempts fell flat? Well, at least it fell flat on that day. Did anybody sense any one of the humor points that fell flat?
Rebecca is saying,
Could I hear that again, please?
Rebecca is saying the one with hair.
The one with hair in the speech? All right. I don't recall that in the speech. But the one that fell flat was when I spoke about my mother having given me a head start. When she called me Godfrey, she said, "Give them the love of God." She said, and I said, "But I am not God." She says, "Yeah, but I gave you a head start when I call you Godfrey." I was expecting, that to be raucous. What? Boom! It didn't come off. And the important thing is that when other people don't laugh at your jokes, don't make yourself feel good by laughing. Just move on and let them not know that you expected them to laugh. Any other questions or comments? You got the theory, you got the practice. Anything at all that you picked up, that you liked, that you didn't like, that you would like to inculcate in your speeches, you're not sure how it was done, you thought it was poorly done, you can do it better, whatever. Now is the time to speak, please.
Tony Roll is asking, what is considered funny from country to country?
Do I want?
No, it seems muffled.
Come again. Try again.
What is considered?
Well, okay, all right. What is considered
I'll
funny?
yield to Distinguished Toastmaster Dorset. Can you read it for me?
Most definitely. What is considered funny varies from country to country. Do you have any tips on how to add humor that accounts for this? Or do we simply have to use humor that we are comfortable with, or hope it doesn't fall flat?
Right. Well, if you're taking your speaking seriously, I mean, come on. Not everybody will take their speaking as seriously as others. But if you're taking your humor seriously and you're speaking seriously, then you can study international best practices. I did a presentation for my distinguished Toastmaster, Louis Margolin, who is now our club growth director. And I don't remember where it was or who I did it for. I'm not really sure that they were Toastmasters. But what I had to do in order to get that presentation done, I had to study best practices for other countries. So, and I don't remember all the details, but I know like the peace sign, for instance, means one thing to us, but it means something else to people in Iran, something to that effect. So different things can mean different things. Now, you got to know that. So you don't want to be doing a sign like this, and you mean one thing, but you know that Iranians or some other group might think it means something else. So if you're taking your speaking seriously, you must know your audience. That is the basic, right? Know your audience. When you're speaking on the Toastmasters forum, where you're going to have 140 countries, you ain't going to know your audience, except that they are Toastmasters. And I've always heard, it is not true, I always heard, avoid sex, avoid religion, avoid politics. That's not true, but it's a myth that has been perpetuated, which I guess probably is not a bad myth to hold on to. But just to say, I was told by our president-elect of all people, international president-elect, Mackenzie, that is not so. And that shattered my 17-year-old assumption that that was a myth. Bottom line is this. You're speaking to a Toastmasters audience, even though sex may not be officially off limits. Come on, you got men and you got women in the crowd. You want to keep your jokes above the belt. You know, you have Muslims, you have Christians. I just did an international convention. I had people from about 20 different countries, 20 different Toastmasters districts. And I don't know how many countries that involved. But the bottom line is that I had to be very careful. I had to work my audience. There were a lot of people from the Middle East. And I would ask questions. Is this allowed? Teach me about your culture. It takes a little bit of effort. But yes, we want to make sure that our jokes are culturally neutral. I just coined that term. I like it. Culturally neutral. All right. Next question. Please don't embarrass me. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm testing my
mic. Oh, yeah, I was saying, please don't embarrass me. I can answer any question, but I can only answer you ask them.
Okay, Marlo Jacob said the speech was entertaining. What approach do you suggest for those of us that are not as creative?
Well, let me tell you this. If you want something badly enough, you can learn to create. A foundational component of creativity is the ability to create. Is that right? That's so. I love to say simple things in a profound way. A foundational component of creativity is the ability to create. Wow. I love that. So guess what? You say you're not creative? That's not a death sentence. Learn to be creative. Start creating. Whatever I am now, good or bad, was not achieved overnight. It's years of practice, years of performance, failure, successes. So you want to learn to create, watch creative people. You want to be a world champion? Watch the world champions. Thank God for the digital era. We have videos, we have all that good stuff. But whatever it is you want to be, I can assure you that if you want to be something badly enough, then there are the tools and the opportunities available that you can take advantage of that will help you to get there. You may not get there overnight. As a matter of fact, I guarantee you, you will not get there overnight, but you will get there eventually. But the longest journey begins with what? Who knows? The first step.
Single step.
Right, that's right.
Thank you, distinguished Mr. McAllister. Let's give our presenter a huge round of applause. District 47 and its members, take your time and your service. I have pasted evaluation link in the chat window. Please complete the evaluation form for our presenter and for our organizers. Please do it now because it only takes a few minutes, but remember you can complete it within the next 24 hours. Divisions D and E appreciates the fact that you took the time to attend this presentation today to develop yourself, which will benefit your club, area, division, and district. This ends the tips for writing an international speech session, but the excitement is not over. Please remain in the main room where distinguished Toastmaster Michelle Leeway will share the secret ingredient to success. You do not want to miss it. Thank you, guys.
Excellent job. Thank you.